Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump attends the dignified transfer of 2 National Guard members killed in Syria, actions he's taken since the attack. Beijing says China and Venezuela are strategic partners, showing its support for Caracas. It also says China opposes unilateral bullying. But under the country of the CCP, it has a record of doing exactly that. We discuss this with an analyst. Rob Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, makes his first court appearance in Los Angeles in connection with his parents' deaths. His arraignment has been delayed for early next year. The House of Representatives will vote on a health care plan. However, it does not include an extension of the expiring enhanced tax credits for Obamacare. How this impacts you. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith testifying today before the House Judiciary Committee. What we know about the closed-door meeting regarding his prosecutions of President Trump. Shen Yun Performing Arts is officially launching its 2026 global tour with Europe as its first stop.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio announced today that he and his wife Barbara will help fund the Trump administration's so-called Trump accounts. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent touted the Children's Investment Initiative.
Ray has joined what we are calling the 50-State Challenge. The 50-State Challenge is a special initiative Treasury is launching today to rally the nation's philanthropists around a common cause. Through the 50-State Challenge, we are inviting every philanthropist in every state across the country to partner with us in building generational wealth for America's children through Trump accounts. There are 4 ways Trump accounts will be funded. First, through an initial $1,000 seed from the government. Second, through the donations of parents, friends, and employers. Third, through the generous donations of wealthy Americans and philanthropic organizations. And fourth, through donations from state governments.
The Dalio investment amounts to a $250 contribution per child for approximately 300,000 children in their home state of Connecticut. Ray Dalio took to X posting, quote, "By providing children with savings accounts that compound over time, we are providing them with early insights into financial literacy and a path towards financial independence." Entrepreneur Michael Dell and his wife Susan have joined the effort as well with a $6.25 billion pledge backing the initiative. All U.S. children under 18 can have a Trump account. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith is testifying today on Capitol Hill. The House Judiciary Committee is questioning the former special counsel behind closed doors. The committee said earlier the deposition relates to his 2 prosecutions of President Trump for his alleged mishandling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort and his challenging of the 2020 presidential election results. Smith ultimately dropped both cases after Trump won the 2024 election. In his opening statement, obtained in part by the Associated Press, Smith told lawmakers that investigators developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt in the election case, and that they had accrued powerful evidence in the classified documents case. Ahead of the hearing, Smith's lawyer told reporters that his client conducted the investigations based on the facts and based on the law and nothing more. Trump told reporters at the White House that he supported the idea of an open hearing, saying, quote, "I'd rather see him testify publicly. There's no way he can answer the questions." Smith has continually denied his work was politically motivated and has said he is willing to testify publicly. And meanwhile, the FCC is facing scrutiny for pressuring broadcasters to take ABC late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel off the air in September. Here's FCC Chair Brendan Carr in an exchange with Senator Amy Klobuchar of the Commerce Committee today.
But after Jimmy Kimmel's monologue, you went on a podcast and suggested that ABC should take Kimmel off the air, saying, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Those were your words. Do you think it is appropriate to use your position to threaten companies that broadcast political satire?
I think any licensee that operates on the public airwaves has a responsibility to comply with the public interest standard, and that's been the case for decades.
I asked if you think it's appropriate for you to use your position to threaten companies. And this incident with Kimmel wasn't an isolated event. You've launched investigations into every major broadcast network except Fox. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's true or not. We do have investigations going on NPR and PBS. We have a number of investigations that are ongoing. I think if you step back over the years, I think the FCC has walked away from enforcing the public interest standard, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Now, back in September, Kimmel's show stirred controversy over comments he made about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Carr warned that local broadcasters who aired Kimmel could face fines or loss of licenses. ABC briefly suspended Kimmel's show following the warning. Senate Commerce Committee Chairman Ted Cruz criticized the FCC, calling it unconstitutional coercion that chills protected speech. Last month, Carr also said the FCC was opening a review of agreements between national networks and local broadcast stations. This was after President Trump criticized ABC. Carr and both FCC commissioners testified before the oversight hearing. Carr said his agency is working to drive down prices for consumers, restoring U.S. leadership in wireless, and countering national security threats. The Senate has passed the defense spending bill for fiscal year 2026. The vote was 77-20. The National Defense Authorization Act approves a record $900.6 billion for the Department of War. That's $8 billion more than what President Trump requested earlier this year. The bill is over 3,000 pages long. It covers a pay raise for troops, military assistance to Ukraine, and Pentagon's weapons programs. The House passed the bill with bipartisan support last week. The bill will now head to President Trump's desk for signing. Turning to Venezuela's coast, President Trump has ordered a naval blockade targeting sanctioned oil shipments. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on that, plus updates on the National Guard members killed in Syria and a special presidential address to the nation.
President Trump announced the move yesterday on Truth Social, writing that Venezuela is now surrounded by what he called the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. Trump said the pressure will increase until what he described as stolen U.S. oil, land, and assets are returned. Trump has designated Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro's regime a foreign terrorist organization, accusing it of using stolen oil revenues to fund drug trafficking, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. Maduro denounced the American advances yesterday, saying imperialism and the fascist right want to colonize Venezuela to take over its wealth of oil, gas, gold, among other minerals. Congressman Joaquin Castro called Trump's blockade an act of war. He said the House will vote tomorrow on a resolution pushing for an end to hostilities with Venezuela. The Maduro regime previously described the United States' recent seizing of a tanker filled with Venezuelan crude oil as international piracy. The White House said last week the U.S. was justified in taking the vessel.
We're not going to stand by and watch sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world.
Tensions are also extending to the skies. The FAA has issued an advisory warning airlines of deteriorating security conditions in Venezuelan airspace, citing heightened military activity.
The warning runs through February 19, 2026. And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said yesterday that the Pentagon will release to select lawmakers the full video of a September strike on a drug trafficking boat that killed survivors of an initial strike. Democrats have criticized the military strikes, especially the second one on September 2nd. They say it targeted shipwrecked survivors who otherwise would not have been able to conduct further operations. President Trump will also address the nation from the White House today.
He's going to talk a lot about the accomplishments over the past 11 months, all that he's done to bring our country back to greatness, and all he continues to plan to do to continue delivering for the American people over the next 3 years.
The president's remarks are scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern and will be broadcast live on the White House's social media channels. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
President Trump designated Nicolas Maduro's regime as a foreign terrorist organization and ordered a blockade of oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. Joining us to discuss is Armen Kurdian, retired U.S. Navy captain and foreign policy and national security analyst. So Armen, good afternoon. Can I just ask you what kind of impact this will have on Venezuela's oil reserves, and what's the overall effect going to be on the country?
Good afternoon, Don. Are you talking about the blockade here?
The blockade, that's correct.
Okay. So there's quite a bit to unpack here. The terminology of blockade is essentially used to when you stop all ships going into and out of a country, whether it's dry cargo, wet cargo, oil, fishing trawlers, everything. So that's not a terminology I would use, because the term blockade actually under international law is generally recognized as an act of war. This is not that. This is essentially a call that says any sanctioned vessel traveling into and out of Venezuela will be intercepted, perhaps boarded and seized. So it's a bit of a distinction right there, and I think how this was communicated was not helpful. Now the question is going to be whether Venezuela is going to start escorting some of these ships outside of its waters. Their Navy is not much to speak of, so they wouldn't be able to do it on a regular basis. If they did, then the amount of oil they'd be able to transport outside of the country or back into the country, or other kind of products, would be severely limited. A lot of these ships that are carrying this sanctioned oil are already sanctioned under international law. They're hard to insure. They're stateless in a lot of ways, and a lot of times they're not in the best conditions. So taking them off of the high seas is not necessarily a bad thing.
All right, understood. Can we also talk about labeling the regime as a terrorist organization? Does that provide any new tools for the administration?
You can label them as a terrorist organization, and yes, it does provide additional tools for the U.S. to handle that, in terms of perhaps a precursor to military strikes or other kinds of targeted attacks. I don't know whether necessarily labeling his government as a foreign terrorist organization it would really stand to scrutiny, and I think it's a little bit of an overreach. I think a lot of the interception, the work that's being done, taking out the little drug boats, and the seizing of these tankers and additional sanctions on the country is probably necessary. Trump has talked about, this country stole a lot of American oil and our assets. He's going back and referring to, back in the 70s and also 2007, when the regimes basically nationalized a lot of U.S. assets, U.S. oil refineries in the country. The claims are anywhere from $10 billion to $60 billion of U.S. assets that were basically seized or nationalized by various regimes within Venezuela. The previous one being Hugo Chavez. So there is validity to that claim that Venezuela has taken some of our assets, and it might be a little bit of a stretch to say that it's a terror organization, but we certainly know that they are receiving under the table drug money, allowing a lot of these drugs going through Colombia to pass through their country into the United States and into Europe and the rest of the world.
Okay, on this subject, China is actually showing its support for Venezuela. It's saying that China and Venezuela are strategic partners. This is according to a Chinese Foreign Ministry statement. And just pointing it out that it's reported China is Venezuela's biggest oil buyer. So what is China's ultimate interest in this situation through this support?
Well, just like the Soviet Union tried back in the 1980s in Nicaragua and other parts of South America, China is trying to keep a foothold in the Western Hemisphere. And the fact that Venezuela and the U.S. are not getting along means that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that's what China is trying to do right now. China needs oil, so they're going to be buying sanctioned oil at a discount. The question is whether the president will intercept any vessels carrying sanctioned oil from Venezuela to China. That remains to be seen. Certainly, China has been financing Iran's war with support of the Houthi rebels and other proxies in the Middle East. through buying the sanctioned Iranian oil. So you see a lot of these countries that are just on the other side of the line, the ones that we talk about normally, Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, and you can maybe now add Venezuela to that mix, simply aligned because they don't have any ideological similarities, but they're all aligned because they don't like the United States.
You know what I find sort of hypocritical or ironic? According to that statement from China's foreign ministry, it also said that China opposes unilateral bullying. But under the country, the country under the CCP has a record of doing exactly that. Just think South China Sea or its actions towards Taiwan. So, what do you think about that? Your comments there?
Oh, absolutely. Look what they've done with the Spratly Islands going in with a lot of other countries who have claims to that territory. They've definitely tried to say the South China Sea belongs to them, which it does not. The U.S. only recognizes that 12 nautical mile limit. And to the U.S.'s perhaps discredit, I don't think we've necessarily stood as strongly with a lot of those countries in China's immediate regional sphere of influence as strongly as we should have. Now, obviously, those countries are over there. They got to live with China in their backyard, so they don't want to tick the Chinese off that much. But the fact that the U.S. hasn't stood up for them, that the Obama administration basically allowed China to militarize the Spratly Islands, which have a lot of natural resources, build artificial reefs and artificial runways and military bases in that area. He goes to say, well, is the U.S. going to be a reliable partner or a reliable ally in that part of the world? So in a lot of ways, we kind of have ourselves to blame for giving China a little bit more of a free hand or being less vocal, or less, not vocal, but less active in terms of our criticism and taking those actions to try to counter some of that, counterbalance some of their actions there.
Okay, Armin, there's another thing on my mind. I wanted to get your thoughts as well on the National Guard soldiers killed in Syria. President Trump said he's going to meet the plane carrying the bodies. The U.S. Central Command said this was a lone ISIS terrorist. How should we interpret that? I mean, what is ISIS's current operational capabilities in Syria?
No, ISIS is starting to recoup itself a little bit. They're nowhere near where they were, but there's still territory, parts of Syria and parts of Iraq where they are in control, and the government does not have control. I wouldn't necessarily call the new Syrian government as a strong U.S. ally, but they're certainly a lot less antipathetic towards the United States than the Assad regime. So they want to bring Syria back into the fold of the international community. I believe that Trump could have a massive foreign policy success if he's able to repeat with Syria, the Camp David Accord with Egypt in '78, and then the peace treaty that Israel had with Jordan in 1994. Because Syria is the one country right there on the border of Israel where they don't have a signed peace treaty following the wars in 1967 and 1973. Now, in terms of ISIS, I'm sure the Syrian government wants us there to help them, combat ISIS, keep intelligence on them, keep identifying what they're actually doing. On the other side of that coin, those troops, there's only 1,000 there. They're not really an offensive force. There's not much that they can do. So if there is any counter attacks, it would have to be from airstrikes or perhaps drone strikes as well, kinds of things. This what did sound like a lone wolf attack, an insider attack, which is very hard to defend from. And we saw a lot of those happen in Iraq. A 2-star Air Force general was killed in an insider attack as well. So I think that there does need to be a little bit of a closer scrutiny to determine whether those troops in that part of the world are serving a valid function, if they are providing requisite intelligence and supporting the Syrian regime and countering ISIS at the same time. But if that's true, then we need the European allies and other countries involved there as well.
Well, all right, Armin, that's all I had in mind today. Really great to talk to you, as always. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don. Have a great day.
Nick Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, makes his first court appearance in Los Angeles in connection with his parents' deaths. His arraignment has been delayed for early next year. More news after this break.
Don't miss our special coverage of Turning Point's biggest event of the year, America Fest 2025.
This is the greatest nation on earth.
Thousands of students expected to attend the 4-day event, joined by some of the most influential voices in the conservative movement, all to honor Charlie Kirk and the principles he stood for. Watch our special coverage of the convention and our on-the-ground editions of NTD Evening News with Tiffany Meyer at 6 p.m. Eastern and Capitol Report with Steve Lance at 7. Turning Point USA, America Fest 2025, this Thursday through Sunday on NTD.
Performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
This is Pho-licious. Now, what is pho? It's an authentic Vietnamese noodle dish. Pho-licious chicken pho brings the comforting, aromatic flavors of Vietnam to your bowl. And Mama Thu's signature spice blend. Well, this chicken pho is as close to homemade as it gets without the wait. Some cubed chicken, a little lime, and then the magic moment. See you soon, my friends.
Pho-licious is now available at your local Walmart or walmart.com.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
The manhunt intensifies for the Brown University shooter. Authorities shared a new video timeline and a clearer image of the suspect. Yet, investigators did not indicate they had moved any closer to knowing the shooter's identity. Here's more.
As a manhunt for the gunman who killed 2 Brown University students stretched past 3 days, authorities once again asked members of the public for help to identify the suspect. In a news conference Tuesday, officials played several video clips taken from neighborhood cameras.
In this video that you just saw behind me, it all comes from the residential block of Waterman Avenue, Power, Ives, and Hope Street. And it's those residential areas that we're asking the public to look. If you have any camera systems or any Teslas, like I mentioned, that you look at that footage and that you can reach out to us and please provide us anything that you have.
Perez said the suspected gunman was in the area as early as 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, more than 5 hours before the attack, and that he was likely casing the scene.
There is no information that...
Officials said they were confident the person in the video is the gunman, but added they have zero evidence as to the motive for the shooting. Authorities initially detained another person of interest, a man in his 20s, early on Sunday, but they eventually released him after concluding that he was not involved. The news that there was no suspect in custody brought fresh anxiety to nearby residents, who have opened their doors to police officers seeking camera footage that might have captured the shooter. On Tuesday, many anxious students were departing the campus, including Partha Gupta.
I don't think anyone feels safe right now, given the fact that the person is still on the loose.
Brown said it had implemented enhanced security measures since the shooting, including doubling the University Department of Public Safety's staffing and restricting entry to campus buildings. It is one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in the United States.
Nick Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, appeared in court today for the first time since being accused of killing his parents. NTD's Christina Corona is live outside the courthouse. Christina, good to see you. What's the latest on his arraignment?
Good to see you, Don. Yes, so we're outside the Los Angeles Superior Courthouse where Nick Reiner made his first court appearance since being accused of killing his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Now, his attorney, Alan Jackson, announced that his arraignment will be pushed back to early next year, citing there are very complex and serious issues associated with his case. Let's take a look.
We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment.
Now, this comes after his attorney announced that Nick Reiner wasn't yet medically cleared to attend court yesterday. Back to you, Don.
Also, Christina, I'm wondering if you can tell us what charges is he facing?
Yes, so yesterday, District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that former charges were filed against Nick Reiner yesterday. Let's take a look.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Now, officials say that cases involving family members are really difficult to prosecute. Let's take a look.
Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades.
Now, authorities say that Nick was living at home during the murders, but was not present when officers arrived. Back to you, Don.
Just one more thing here, and I'll let you go, Christina. Are there any new details that have come out about the events leading up to the murders?
Yes, so as we reported, the Reiners attended a holiday party on Saturday at Conan O'Brien's house, where Nick Reiner and his father, Rob Reiner, apparently got into a heated argument. Then, hours later, Nick Reiner checked into a Santa Monica hotel around 4 a.m. on Sunday. And by Sunday afternoon is when their daughter, Romy, unfortunately, she found her parents' bodies. And Nick Reiner was later arrested Sunday night near the USC area. Now, hotel staff have told investigators that in Reiner's room, they found the bathtub full of blood and blood on his mattress. Nick Reiner is currently being held at the Twin Towers jail facility in downtown Los Angeles. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Christina, thank you. Australian authorities have charged an accused gunman in the Bondi Beach massacre with 15 counts of murder and dozens of other offenses. It comes as funerals begin today for the victims of the anti-Semitic attack. Here are the details.
The 24-year-old accused in the terror attack on a Jewish crowd, Naveed Akram, has been formally charged after waking from a coma. Police say he faces 59 counts, including committing a terrorist act, 15 murders, 40 counts of wounding with intent to murder, and charges related to firearms, extremist symbols, and explosives.
Currently awaiting his medical condition to be appropriate for us to do that. It's important that he has appropriate cognitive ability at the time. When you're on medication, we would argue for his fairness, we need to make sure that he's able to understand exactly what's happening.
Police shot him and his father, Sajid Akram, at the scene where his father died. Australia's federal police commissioner said authorities believe the shooting was a terrorist attack inspired by Islamic State. Meanwhile, hundreds of mourners gathered today for the first funeral of a victim, honoring a rabbi who organized the Hanukkah event where the attack unfolded.
After what happened, my biggest regret was, apart from, obviously, from the obvious, but from the things that I could have done more, is to tell Ellie more often how much we love him, how much I love him.
Those who knew him described Rabbi Eli as a pillar of the community.
He just wanted to bring light to this community. He was proudly Jewish. He just had a 5th child just weeks ago, and now his wife is a widow.
Australian leaders and the Jewish community say the Hanukkah celebration will return to Bondi Beach in defiance of the attackers' intentions.
Eli lived and breathed this idea. We can never ever allow them not only to succeed, but any time that they try something, we become greater and stronger.
A Sydney shop owner is being hailed as a hero for disarming one of the gunmen, while a couple and another man who were killed confronting the attackers are also being remembered for trying to save others. Prime Minister Albanese identified the couple as Boris and Sophia Gurman. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, the couple were Russian Jewish. Boris was a retired mechanic, and Sophia worked for Australia Post. Albanese spoke to the media today, honoring the couple and another man who was killed while trying to stop the bloodshed.
Well, I pay tribute to Boris and Sophia Gurman, to Reuben Morrison, who threw bricks and took action to try and stop this occurring, also murdered by these terrorists. These are Australian heroes.
There has been reports
As the investigations unfold, Australia faces a political reckoning about anti-Semitism and whether police protections for Jews are enough for the threats they face.
The House of Representatives will vote on a health care plan that does not include an extension of the expiring enhanced tax credits for Obamacare. How this impacts you. More news after this break.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. You won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, and being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Got a new house.
I think I finally found a place that I call home.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Several House Republicans broke with the House Speaker on Affordable Care Act subsidies and signed onto a Democratic petition. House Democrats needed 218 signatures on their discharge petition to force a vote. All House Democrats signed, along with 3 representatives from Pennsylvania: Brian Fitzpatrick, Robert Bresnahan, and Ryan McKenzie, and New York Representative Mike Lawler. Their signatures forced a vote on a 3-year extension of Obamacare subsidies that are set to expire for millions at the end of the year. The ACA funding bill is expected to expire since the House will unlikely vote on the extension until the second week of January. And this is due to timing on petitions like this and the upcoming 2-week holiday recess. The House of Representatives will vote on a healthcare plan that does not include an extension of the expiring enhanced tax credits for Obamacare. Joining us to discuss is Gerard Filitti, Senior Counsel at the Lawfare Project and political strategist. So Gerard, always great to see you. So a Kaiser Family Foundation October poll found that 8 in 10, nearly, Americans want to renew the tax credits. But, there's been a big concern about fraud on the Republican side. So your thoughts on the vote of a healthcare plan that does not include an extension?
I think the problem here is that you have 2 competing bills, one that wants to keep things going as they are without addressing the fraud and without providing a bridge or a transition to alternate ways to pay for healthcare, and the other one, which is what the House is putting out on its own, the House Republican Conference, is something that just basically cancels the credit. There has been no real compromise between Republicans and Democrats, but the problem is indeed that no one has addressed the fraud and abuse, which, as we have seen, is significant in government and is costing people the ability to actually get the care that they need, because this is making healthcare unaffordable and insurance premiums even higher.
So Gerard, I just want to point out some of the fraud that's happening here. Now, according to a Government Accountability Office report, it said there are gaps in identity verification that can lead to abuse. So for example, the office says it created dozens of fake identities to apply for subsidized healthcare, and all but one were actually successfully enrolled. So in your view, the problems that we're seeing here, are they systemic and fundamental, or is it more surface level and easily fixed?
The problems that we're seeing are very much systemic. It's a system that adds together a weak verification system with automatic eligibility. And what that means is that it's an open invitation to fraud and abuse. If all you have to do is provide a social security number, which may not even be accurate or yours, and you put down on the form that you are the right age or that you don't make enough money, you're automatically enrolled in a system. There is very little checking, very few checks and balances, very few audits that are conducted. And in most cases, you don't have to prove your identity beyond the number that you put down on a piece of paper. So this is an open invitation to fraud and abuse, and this is what we've seen happen in numerous states across the country, including in Minnesota.
So you said earlier there's competing ideas in Congress. I'm wondering, is it possible to continue these subsidies, but with reforms that reduces fraud significantly?
I think that is absolutely a possibility. The problem is that the Democrats have not wanted to budge from that position. When you're looking at verification or you're looking at increased audits, that becomes politically difficult, especially for Democrats to sell to their supporters. These are measures that usually Democrats do not favor. They want to make it easier for people to sign up, not harder. So this is something that prevents them from coming to meet in the middle and have that extension with increased checks, with increased accountability for fraud and abuse. So really, it's on the Democrats to sell to their constituents the need to have these verifications and audits and root out abuse in order to maintain the credits.
And you also pointed out the rising cost, right? What's driving up the cost? Is it fraud that's driving up the cost in Obamacare premiums?
Well, fraud certainly plays a large role. Every dollar that is being abused, that is being fraudulently wasted, is a dollar that's not going towards patient care. It's money that's going somewhere else. So those dollars are not available and are causing health costs to increase. But we also have, I think, a problem, a more systemic problem as well, with the inequity of the government and individuals to negotiate with healthcare providers on costs. We often see costs at an exorbitant, everyone is aware of this. You go to a hospital and you're charged $20 for an aspirin that would cost 5 cents if you went to a pharmacy. That's also part of the problem that no one is really addressing in these bills.
Your thoughts on having the government funds go directly to consumers or patients? What do you think about this idea?
Well, I think that's certainly an idea that has merit. It's something that's been kicked around for many, many years. Look, in retirement, when the United States government started allowing for people to contribute to their own retirement accounts, their own 401c, for their own 501c. I apologize. It's one of those days. When the government started giving tax benefits to Americans contributing to their retirement accounts, we saw a massive increase in savings that people were putting aside for their own retirements. They were no longer relying on the federal government for the brunt of their retirement accounts. We need a similar system in healthcare. If people can invest in their own health accounts, then that is a disincentive for them to spend money elsewhere, and it allows them to save for their expenses without becoming a burden on other taxpayers. That's the benefit of having individual health accounts.
Okay, Gerard, if you could you put this into perspective for us? Can you compare government-run programs like Obamacare to private health insurance plans?
Government-run programs have one benefit. It makes it easy for people to sign up because it's basically universal. Anyone can sign up. All you need is your social security number. The problem with these government plans is that in order to provide healthcare for everyone, you are necessarily diminishing the level of care that everyone is getting. You are not paying for the higher end or specialized care. You are providing a bare minimum for everyone to have equally. And that creates disparity in the market as well. So when you're looking at private plans, you're looking at choice. You're looking at people who have specialized or different needs being able to choose a plan that's tailored for their needs. When you're looking at Obamacare, when you're looking at Affordable Care Act, you are basically stuck in a position where you have to take what you're given. And that may not be enough for your needs, and you may still end up paying a fortune out of pocket for costs.
Okay, just one last thing, Gerard. You brought up choice. Is that the fundamental issue here? If you can just point to one thing that's causing fraud in these government programs, what would it be?
Well, if you're looking at the fraud in these programs, it's people taking advantage of the system. Much like with accident schemes where someone claims that they were hit and they have these medical expenses that were never incurred, it's the same type of idea where you are providing medical insurance to people who don't qualify for it, people who don't even exist, and that is creating the incentive for them to spend that money to go to fake practitioners or practitioners who are in on the scheme and bill for medical care that's never provided. So in many ways, this operates as a fraud on the system, and it takes money out of the system and puts it into people's pockets.
Okay, Gerard, good to speak with you. Thank you very much for your time.
A pleasure. Thank you as always.
The Chinese Communist Party continues its trend of abusing the U.S. legal system as part of a so-called lawfare strategy to advance their interests. This time, the CCP is targeting Senator Eric Schmidt in a $50 billion lawsuit.
Yeah, we're getting it translated as we speak, but we do know it's 50 billion, and you know me as a troublemaker, but it's totally ridiculous. They're just mad that we exposed their lies and their deceit, but they unleashed COVID on the world. We sued them and we won, and so this is just sour grapes They've sued me for $50 billion, but I won't be apologizing anytime soon, as you'd imagine.
The lawsuit was filed by authorities in Wuhan and Chinese research bodies. It accuses Schmidt and Missouri officials of damaging China's reputation through what it calls malicious litigation. Schmidt rejects the claims, calling the case baseless lawfare meant to distract from China's pandemic response. The move follows a U.S. court judgment earlier this year awarding Missouri $24 billion in its case against China. Shenyang Performing Arts is officially launching its 2026 global tour with Europe as its first stop. More news after this break.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
And I knew something was pretty wrong. A little less than a week after I came home, I couldn't breathe. That's when we decided to go to the hospital. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Dave's Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Dave's enzyme fermented coffee.
(911), where's your emergency?
I just shot my best friend on the next hand. Oh my God.
And just moments ago, President Trump witnessed the dignified transfer of 2 Iowa National Guard members killed in an attack in Syria. Let's take a look at that. Now, President Trump, as you can see, was at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware for this solemn ritual. And 2 Iowa National Guardsmen and a civilian interpreter as well were killed in Syria on Saturday in an apparent ambush. So, a bit more details on the attack. The attacker targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces in a central Syrian town. And now the names of the 2 National Guard members are Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar. He was 25 years old, of Des Moines. And the other person was Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard. And he was just 29 years old, of Marshalltown. And both of them served in the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment. So now, there is no formal role for the president at a dignified transfer, other than just to watch in silence, and there is no speaking by any of the dignitaries who attend, with the only words coming from military officials who direct the highly choreographed transfers. Now, as you can see, President Trump is saluting there with the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Now, Trump did not arrive with First Lady Melania Trump. He came alone. And her office didn't give a reason why as to she was not able to attend. And the Iowa National Guard members are hailed as heroes, of course. And just some statements here. Howard's stepfather, Jeffrey Bun has said, I'm just reading this quote from the father, Howard loved what he was doing and would be the first in and last out. He said Howard had wanted to be a soldier since he was a boy. And in a social media post, Bun, who is chief of the Tampa, Iowa Police Department, said Howard was a loving husband and an amazing man of faith. He said Howard's brother, a staff sergeant in the Iowa National Guard, would escort Nate back to Iowa. Torres Tovar was remembered as a very positive, family-oriented person. He always put others first, and this is according to fellow Guard members who were deployed with him, and issued a statement to the local TV broadcast station, WOI. Okay, a little bit of information from the interpreter, the civilian interpreter. He was from Iraq, a small Catholic village south of Mosul, and the family immigrated to the U.S. back in 2007 on a special visa. At the time of his death, the interpreter was employed as an independent contractor for Virginia-based Valiant Integrated Services. And the interpreter's family was still struggling to believe that he is gone. They're saying he was a devoted father and a husband and a courageous interpreter and a man who believed deeply in the mission he served. And as you can see now, service members are bringing the casket holding the body of the soldiers out from the plane. Let's just watch for a moment in silence. Okay, now for some reactions from President Trump to the attack in Syria. Trump told reporters over the weekend that he was mourning the deaths, and he did, in fact, vow retaliation. So the most recent instance of U.S. service members killed in action was actually back in January 2024, when 3 American troops died in a drone attack in Jordan. So Saturday's attack followed a reapproachment between the U.S. and Syria, if you remember that, bringing the former pariah state into a U.S.-led coalition fighting the Islamic State group. And we've seen President Trump forging a relationship with interim Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara. And he did invite him to the White House as well last month. Trump said on Monday that the attack had nothing to do with the Syrian leader, who Trump also said was devastated by what happened. So the second casket is being brought out from the plane, and the reason why there is no sound, because there's no speaking by any of the dignitaries who attend. The only words coming from military officials who actually direct the choreographed transfers. This is not a ceremonial event, but a solemn military ritual to honor U.S. service members killed in action. And as you can see, the transfer involves flag-draped transfer cases being carried from the aircraft to waiting vehicles by military teams. So after the transfer, the remains will be taken to the facility at Dover, where identification will be conducted and preparation for a final burial of the bodies. Now, what you're witnessing is President Trump meeting with family members of 2 Iowa National Guard members and a U.S. civilian who were killed in action. The meeting was actually held at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, where this ritual is being held as we speak right now. So Trump was joining the families and top administration and military officials to watch the dignified transfer of the remains. And as you can see, President Trump at the site right now. And this solemn dignified transfer ritual honors U.S. service members killed in action. Trump, who traveled to Dover several times in his first term, described it as what he says is the toughest thing he had to do as a president. Now, the 2 guardsmen killed in Syria on Saturday were Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar. He was 25 of Des Moines, and Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, 29 of Marshalltown. And according to the U.S. Army, both were members of the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment, and have been hailed as heroes by the Iowa National Guard. So both Torres Tovars and Howard's families were at Dover for the return of the remains. And this is alongside the Iowa governor, Kim Reynolds, and members of Iowa's congressional delegation and leaders of the Iowa National Guard. And their remains will be taken to Iowa after the transfer. Okay, the ritual is coming to a close now. Key officials leaving the site. All right, we're going to move on now. Democratic and Republican competing proposals to tackle healthcare are on the way to the Senate, with both expected to fail in the upper chamber. Healthcare will continue to dominate the legislative agenda during the first quarter of 2026. More news after this break.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skip meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. You know, I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 children face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjian campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio and his wife Barbara announced an investment to help fund so-called Trump accounts. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent touted the Children's Investment Initiative. Democratic and Republican competing proposals to tackle health care are on their way to the Senate, both expected to fail in the upper chamber. Health care will continue to dominate the legislative agenda during the first quarter of 2026. President Trump attends the dignified transfer of 2 National Guard members killed in Syria, actions he's taken since the attack. The House passed a bill to restore whole milk to America's school nutrition programs. What is the current situation of kids' nutrition? We talked to an expert and teacher. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy details the nation's first advanced air mobility strategy. The department says the initiative will help ensure that the U.S. leads the world in next-generation aviation. Shenyun Performing Arts is officially launching its 2026 global tour, with Europe as its first stop.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
It's been a busy day on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers in the House continuing their health care battle, setting up crucial votes with a complicated future in the Senate. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, has more.
Now, just for the public knows, when there's a discharge petition and you get 218 votes, which is the majority of the House Democrats, then the bill comes to the floor. We want no obstacles. We want action.
4 Republicans signed on to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries' discharge petition to force a vote on a bill that would extend for 3 years the COVID-era Obamacare healthcare subsidies.
Even some Republicans agree that action is urgent. Called the Speaker's refusal to allow a vote on extending these subsidies idiotic and political malpractice as premiums are poised to rise.
I think these are obviously Republicans who are in swing districts that may be threatened in the midterm election. My prediction is with a sufficient number of Republicans signing on to this that it would pass the House. I don't think the fate in the Senate will be very good, however.
This is the second discharge petition that has been successful in forcing House Republican leadership to put a bill for a vote on the House floor. The other bill that was successful was the bill to release the Epstein files.
I have not lost control. Because there are look, we have the smallest majority in U.S. history. These are not normal times. There are processes and procedures in the House that are less frequently used when there are larger majorities and when you have the luxury of having 10 or 15 people who disagree on something.
Also today, the House Judiciary Committee deposed former special counsel Jack Smith. Republicans grilled Smith behind closed doors over the intercepted phone records of 8 Republican lawmakers and the questioned probable cause for the raid on Mar-a-Lago in 2022.
In today testifying before this committee, Jack is showing tremendous courage in light of the remarkable and unprecedented retribution campaign against him by this administration and this White House.
The House will vote later today on the Republican proposal to tackle health care. The bill would lower premiums and provide subsidies for low-income families for out-of-pocket health care expenses. The bill is expected to pass through the House but face opposition in the Senate. Also today, the Senate passed the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, a $900 billion bill that is now heading to the president's desk for signing. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Billionaire investor Ray Dalio announced today that he and his wife, Barbara, will help fund the Trump administration's so-called Trump accounts. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent touted the Children's Investment Initiative.
Ray has joined what we are calling the 50-State Challenge. The 50-State Challenge is a special initiative Treasury is launching today to rally the nation's philanthropists around a common cause. Through the 50-State Challenge, we are inviting every philanthropist in every state across the country to partner with us in building generational wealth for America's children through Trump accounts. There are 4 ways Trump accounts will be funded. First, through an initial $1,000 seed from the government. Second, through the donations of parents, friends, and employers. Third, through the generous donations of wealthy Americans and philanthropic organizations, and fourth, through donations from state governments.
The Dalio investment amounts to a $250 contribution per child for approximately 300,000 children in their home state of Connecticut. Ray Dalio took to X posting, quote, "By providing children with savings accounts that compound over time, we are providing them with early insights into financial literacy and a path towards financial independence." Entrepreneur Michael Dell and his wife Susan have joined the effort as well with a $6.25 billion pledge backing the initiative. All the U.S. children under 18 can have a Trump account. The House has passed a bill to restore whole milk to America's school nutrition programs. Joining us to discuss is Aaron Boxer, former special education teacher and CEO of Diversified Education Services. So Aaron, always great to speak with you. Thank you for joining us today. What problem is Congress trying to solve here by bringing whole milk back? Why was it removed in the first place?
Thanks. It's great to be here. I just want to say this is a necessary correction. Whole milk was removed from schools around 2012, and overall milk consumption among children, it dropped by roughly 30%, and food waste also increased. From a nutrition standpoint, that's a problem because policy only works if kids actually consume what's offered, and the science has evolved. There are multiple large reviews now that show a clear association between whole fat dairy and child obesity. And whole milk contains fat-soluble vitamins, which I call KADE. That's vitamins K, A, D, and E. And that's for growth and brain development. So this bill doesn't force whole milk. It just restores some choices and brings policy closer to the current evidence.
So does this mean students will have more choice in school lunches? And that's a good thing in your opinion. So this bill is in a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, Don. That's what's most important here. The bill, it's not a mandate on whole milk. It allows it, and schools can offer whole milk, 2%, 1%, or skim. And then families decide what works best for their kids. There's the choice. we know from behavioral and also nutrition research that choice increases participation. And when participation goes up, then nutrition improves. A forced compliance just leads to waste. And choice within guardrails, that's how public health actually succeeds. So choice isn't anti-health. It's how you get the buy-in.
So what is the current situation regarding food programs right now? Are they effective or not in providing the necessary nutrition to kids?
Right now, because the science has evolved, we needed a little bit of change. And this is actually also good for the farming industry as well. But sticking with nutrition, it's about patterns, not single foods. And whole milk, it's not a magic fix, but demonizing it was definitely a mistake. It's very nutritious to have milk. Focus should be on reducing the added sugars. And I know that flavored milk is going to be in there. And I really would like to discourage people who are out there listening to this to add more unnecessary sugar. If there's chocolate milk there, I would just be recommending that they stick with the regular whole milks and the 2% and the skims. We need to prioritize more about whole foods and then build that metabolic health early. And that's where the science is pointing.
Okay, Aaron, maybe you can address some criticisms here about this situation. Some are saying this is catering to industry rather than a focus on giving students more choice.
You know, I do understand that there is some criticism here. But what's most important here is that we are really addressing what's best for kids. So if you frame those things, there is some conflict, but the science doesn't support it. The real question is whether whole milk, does it harm kids? And there's multiple systematic reviews that show no association between whole fat dairy and cardiometabolic risk in kids. If a food is safe, if it's nutrient dense and widely consumed, then supporting the farming industry is also helpful. It's a secondary benefit. But what does harm kids is policies that look good on paper, but then fail in practice. So after whole milk was removed, milk consumption dropped significantly, and food waste, as I mentioned before, it went up. And nutrition policy, again, has to work in the real world, not just in theory.
Okay, Aaron, let me ask you one last thing. So you were a teacher. So from your experience, have you seen any impact that food has had on a student's learning outcomes? Were there any differences in students' focus or behavior at all?
Absolutely. The nutrition science has changed. And in my conversations with people, not many know about what has changed. For decades, families were told to avoid fat and consume large amounts of carbohydrates. And that coincided with a dramatic increase in type 2 diabetes and metabolic disease. And we know that insulin resistance is caused by too much sugar and carb intake. That doesn't just affect the body, it affects the brain. And skipping ahead to the adults and later on in life, we know that Alzheimer's disease impacts hundreds of millions of people across the world. And many researchers have described Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes. So it's really important that we get in with these kids early and teach them what is a healthy, balanced diet. Because over time, that buildup of sugar also builds up to plaque in the brain. So we want to keep kids with good diet and good sleep habits and also prepare them for later on in life so they're not susceptible to all these diseases.
You know, Aaron, actually, I prefer whole milk personally over skimmed milk or 2% milk. That's just me. But thank you for coming on the show. Good to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Good to talk with you too.
Former Special Counsel Jack Smith is testifying today on Capitol Hill. The House Judiciary Committee is questioning the former special counsel behind closed doors. The committee said earlier the deposition relates to his 2 prosecutions of President Trump for his alleged mishandling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago resort and his challenging of the 2020 presidential election results. Smith ultimately dropped both cases after Trump won the 2024 election. In his opening statement, obtained in part by the Associated Press, Smith told lawmakers that investigators developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt in the election case. and that they had accrued powerful evidence in the classified documents case. Ahead of the hearing, Smith's lawyer told reporters that his client conducted the investigations based on the facts and based on the law and nothing more. Trump told reporters at the White House that he supported the idea of an open hearing, saying, quote, "I'd rather see him testify publicly. There's no way he can answer the questions." Smith has continually denied his work was politically motivated and has said he is willing to testify publicly. And meanwhile, the FCC is facing scrutiny for pressuring broadcasters to take ABC late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel off the air in September. Here's FCC Chair Brendan Carr in an exchange with Senator Amy Klobuchar of the Commerce Committee today.
But after Jimmy Kimmel's monologue, you went on a podcast and suggested that ABC should take Kimmel off the air, saying, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Those were your words. Do you think it is appropriate to use your position to threaten companies that broadcast political satire?
I think any licensee that operates on the public airwaves has a responsibility to comply with the public interest standard, and that's been the case for decades.
I asked if you think it's appropriate for you to use your position to threaten companies. And this incident with Kimmel wasn't an isolated event. You've launched investigations into every major broadcast network except Fox. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's true or not. We do have investigations going on NPR and PBS. We have a number of investigations that are ongoing. I think if you step back over the years, I think the FCC has walked away from enforcing the public interest standard, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Now, back in September, Kimmel's show stirred controversy over comments he made about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Carr warned that local broadcasters who aired Kimmel could face fines or loss of licenses. ABC briefly suspended Kimmel's show following the warning. Senate Commerce Committee Chairman Ted Cruz criticized the FCC, calling it unconstitutional coercion that chills protected speech. Last month, Carr also said the FCC was opening a review of agreements between national networks and local broadcast stations. This was after President Trump criticized ABC. Carr and both FCC commissioners testified before the oversight hearing. Carr said his agency is working to drive down prices for consumers, restoring U.S. leadership in wireless, and countering national security threats. President Trump earlier today attended the dignified transfer of 2 National Guard members killed in Syria. The president was at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware for the solemn ritual. 2 Iowa National Guardsmen and a civilian interpreter were killed in Syria on Saturday. An attacker targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces in a central Syrian town. The attacker was shot dead. The 2 guardsmen were identified as 25-year-old Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar and 29-year-old Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard. Syria described the attacker as a member of their security forces suspected of sympathizing with the Islamic State. Syrian authorities have so far arrested 5 people suspected of having links to the shooting. The Middle Eastern nation has been cooperating with a U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State. Trump has said the U.S. will retaliate. The president also added 7 additional countries, including Syria, to its full travel ban list. Trump will be addressing the nation live from the White House tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll keep you updated on the latest. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy details the nation's first advanced air mobility strategy. The department says the initiative will help ensure that the U.S. leads the world in next-generation aviation. Nick Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, made his first court appearance today in Los Angeles in connection with his parents' deaths. Officials announced his arraignment has been delayed for early next year. More news after this break.
Now's the time to get your home ready for hosting with the holiday savings event at Mathis Home. They have over 100 dining sets in stock with the styles you like at incredible values. This set is a great deal. You get the contemporary trestle table and 4 comfy side chairs, all 5 pieces for just $6.99. And you don't have to wait. With fast and easy financing and free delivery, you can enjoy your new dining set tonight. Get the lowest prices of the year during the holiday savings event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Picture this, the heart of Manhattan, full of energy, movement, and life.
Now imagine bringing that same vitality into your home with trusted health insights for your body, mind, and soul. Every week, Vital Signs dives into health issues that matter the most. The foods that strengthen your immune system, the exercises that keep you moving, the mindfulness practices that calm your mind, plus expert advice from doctors and health leaders you can trust. This isn't just another health show. It's real insight designed to keep you informed, inspired, and in motion. So whether you're starting your day with focus or winding down with balance, Vital Signs brings health and vitality straight into your living room.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
I've stayed hidden for decades, but I had to come back because they started selling Folicious at Walmart.
This isn't your average soup. It's made with real beef tallow and fresh spices. They think I survive on berries and bark, but this is real pho with real broth, and I'm never going back. They followed the smell of the pho. I gotta move. If they find this stash, it's over. Folicious. Restaurant quality, anywhere.
Don't miss our special coverage of Turning Point's biggest event of the year, America Fest 2025.
This is the greatest nation on earth.
Thousands of students expected to attend the 4-day event, joined by some of the most influential voices in the conservative movement, all to honor Charlie Kirk and the principles he stood for. Watch our special coverage of the convention and our on-the-ground editions of NTD Evening News with Tiffany Meyer at 6 p.m. Eastern and Capitol Report with Steve Lance at 7. Turning Point USA, America Fest 2025, this Thursday through Sunday on NTD.
Nick Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, appeared in courts today for the first time since being accused of killing his parents. NTD's LA correspondent Christina Corona brings us more from outside the courthouse.
So we're outside the Los Angeles Superior Courthouse where Nick Reiner made his first court appearance since being accused of killing his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Now, his attorney, Alan Jackson, announced that his arraignment will be pushed back to early next year, citing there are very complex and serious issues associated with his case. Let's take a look.
We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward. Not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment.
Now, this comes after his attorney announced that Nick Reiner wasn't yet medically cleared to attend court yesterday. Back to you, Don.
Also, Christina, I'm wondering if you can tell us what charges is he facing?
Yes, so yesterday, District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that former charges were filed against Nick Reiner yesterday. Let's take a look.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Now, officials say that cases involving family members are really difficult to prosecute. Let's take a look.
Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades.
Now, authorities say that Nick was living at home during the murders, but was not present when officers arrived. Back to you, Don.
Just one more thing here, and I'll let you go, Christina. Are there any new details that have come out about the events leading up to the murders?
Yes, so as we reported, the Reiners attended a holiday party on Saturday at Conan O'Brien's house, where Nick Reiner and his father, Rob Reiner, apparently got into a heated argument. Then, hours later, Nick Reiner checked into a Santa Monica hotel around 4 a.m. on Sunday. And by Sunday afternoon is when their daughter, Romy, unfortunately, she found her parents' bodies. And Nick Reiner was later arrested Sunday night near the USC area. Now, hotel staff have told investigators that in Reiner's room, they found the bathtub full of blood and blood on his mattress. Nick Reiner is currently being held at the Twin Towers jail facility in downtown Los Angeles.
Popular gaming platform Roblox is being sued over alleged sexual exploitation of children. Iowa's Attorney General is accusing the company of failing to take essential precautions to protect children. The lawsuit says Roblox engaged in deceptive trade practices by promising parents that the platform was safe for children with, quote, every precaution possible. The lawsuit claims the platform lacks necessary guardrails and has inappropriate content on its platform. The complaint also described Roblox as the perfect environment for predators and fraudsters, since anyone can sign up regardless of age and use the platform while being completely anonymous. Similar cases have been filed against Roblox in Kentucky, Texas, and Florida. In a statement to the Epoch Times, Roblox said, quote, this lawsuit contains patently false claims about our platform. Roblox is built with safety at its core. We have advanced safeguards that monitor our platform for harmful content and communications. New York is set to be the latest state to legalize doctor-assisted suicide. Governor Kathy Hochul announced today that she will sign the controversial Medical Aid in Dying Act. The bill will allow terminally ill New Yorkers the right to end their lives with prescribed medication. Advocates say a dozen other states and Washington, D.C. have already legalized assisted suicide. The bill is opposed by many religious and disability rights activists. In an op-ed, Governor Hochul, who is a Catholic, wrote in part that she was taught that God is merciful and passionate, and so must we be, she says. Hochul also said there will be safeguards in place. This includes witnesses to signing the paperwork, approval from a consulting physician, and a mandatory waiting period for patients to change their mind. A spokesperson for the governor said she is expected to sign the bill into law next year. Warner Brothers Discovery has rejected a $108 billion hostile takeover by Paramount Skydance. Here are the details.
Warner Brothers Discovery rejected Paramount Skydance's hostile bid on Wednesday. The Warner's board argued Paramount's $108.4 billion offer failed to give adequate financing assurances. The board wrote in a letter to stockholders Paramount had consistently misled Warner Brothers shareholders. That was about whether its $30 per share cash offer was fully guaranteed or backstopped by the Ellison family, led by billionaire Oracle CEO Larry Ellison. The Warner Brothers board further said the Paramount offer posed numerous significant risks. It also said it found the offer inferior to the merger agreement with Netflix. The streaming giant agreed to buy Warner Brothers Discovery's TV, film studios and streaming division for $72 billion earlier this month. But Paramount CEO David Ellison followed up with a $30 a share all-cash bid for the whole company. Paramount has argued its offer is stronger than Netflix's and would have a clearer path to regulatory approval. Whoever buys Warner Brothers would have a big advantage in the streaming wars. They would be purchasing the owner of popular franchises like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones and DC Comics. Paramount and Netflix didn't immediately respond to Reuters' requests for comment.
When we come back, we speak to a former State Department officer about what security measures will be in place to keep everybody safe at a large scale during events during the holidays. So stay with us.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches? Ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight.
Skylar, come here.
Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
When we first met Todd, he was singing a song, and I was like, wow, look at this kid with the biggest smile.
Todd's a joy.
Yes.
Todd's really is a great joy.
And you.
Learn about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
New images just released to help police identify a person of interest in the deadly Brown University shooting. Police are asking for the public's help to identify and speak to this person who was in proximity of the person of interest. Earlier this week, police released security videos of the person of interest in all black with their face difficult to see. A gunman is accused of opening fire on a Brown University class over the weekend, killing 2 and hurting several others. Providence police also announced that there will be a press conference expected to start soon with an update on the investigation. And now to look at what public security measures are necessary this holiday season, we're bringing in Simon Hankinson, former Foreign Service officer at the State Department and senior research fellow in the Border Security and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation. So Simon, thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon to you. Can you just speak to us about what steps will law enforcement need to take to beef up security at large-scale gatherings this Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year?
Well, it's going to vary tremendously by location. We've got 18,000 state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies in the United States. Each one has different staffing, different equipment, different policies. They range from extremely sophisticated cities like New York, that's almost like a small country, has its own counterterrorism bureau, um, large police force, intelligence forces, and so on, right down to small towns with just a sheriff. So I would think that any city that's planning on organizing a large event is going to be talking to the Department of Homeland Security. They have an Office of State and Local Law Enforcement Cooperation. They have regular bulletins and advice and libraries of information and people who can liaise with local law enforcement. But it's obviously going to be a challenge for each individual region and city and town to figure out what they need to do based on the terrain and the particular circumstances of their area.
Are there any common key locations or events that will be priorities for additional security?
Well, I think after the vehicle ramming attacks that we've seen in Strasbourg at a Christmas market a couple of years ago, in Nice on Bastille Day, where over 100 people were killed in France, stabbing attacks at Christmas markets. The French apparently have canceled their annual live fireworks on the Champs-Élysées, which used to get over 1 million people. You're seeing, and of course, Bondi Beach, the terrible shoot in Australia just a few days ago. Any open event is going to be riskier than it was, years ago, and that's just an unfortunate fact. So I think that there's going to be more concentration on the potential vulnerabilities. In Nice, for example, they put bollards up that would impede vehicles from going onto areas where it was pedestrianized, and there are various other measures that cities and towns can take to try to cut down the risk, but you really can't mitigate it 100%.
So I'm just wondering here, because large numbers of people travel over the holidays, are airports, train stations also places that may need additional security?
I don't think there's a single place where people gather that is free of risk. Airports tend to be pretty secure in the United States compared to train stations, compared to bus stations. I mean, if you go to Union Station in Washington, D.C., the level of security is higher than it was a few years ago, but it's certainly nothing like an airport. Anybody can wander in at any time, and they can get pretty close to a train, if not on it, without even showing any kind of identification or ticket. Airports are much more buttoned down, particularly after September 11th. But yeah, this is a monumental challenge. We're such a big country. There'll be a lot of people on the move, and everybody's going to have to really up their game in light of the violence that we've seen just in the past few days.
Can you also just talk to us, what has changed in terms of the method of identifying and preventing potential threats or plots of attacks? How have those methods changed over the years?
Well, one huge innovation is the number of cameras that are in place. Now, you can look at that as a bad thing in terms of privacy, and I totally get that. But it's an inescapable fact that whenever there's an incident these days, there are multiple cameras, whether they're individual homeowners or businesses or city and states that have put them up. Facial recognition is an incredible tool now that didn't exist in 9/11, where you're able to, from a distance, take a picture of someone's face or a scan of someone's face and then match it up with other potential matches. So the equipment has gotten a lot better in terms of how to identify people. And you've noticed that buildings, look, I remember getting on a flight back in about 2000, late 90s. You didn't even have to show ID half the time. Clearly now you do. And you are searched within an inch of your life when you're getting on a plane. You're seeing more and more buildings. The middle school that my kids went to in Washington, D.C. did not have metal detectors when they went there 15 years ago, but now it does. And increasingly spaces are adding that kind of protection to screen out people with potential weapons.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Security measures have increased over the years. Simon, I just want to ask you one more thing before we end it here. Do you have any tips, perhaps, for members of the public, things they can do to ensure they feel safe during the holidays?
I guess the only real tip is to just be aware of where you are. If you see something weird, if something makes you feel uncomfortable, then maybe go somewhere else. I think it's really sad when people don't go out and celebrate and be with other people. I would hate to think of us all, hiding at home in fear. So I don't think people should not go out and not celebrate and not enjoy the company of other people. But you just have to be, hyper aware. Make sure you have a plan with your family to get in contact in case anything ever does happen. Just a routine that you go through of a way to make contact and account for everybody, and a plan for, particularly if you have children, to teach them what to do if something bad does happen so that they know who to go to and where to seek safety.
Well, all right, Simon, great analysis today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Today, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy detailed the nation's first advanced air mobility strategy. Duffy said the initiative will help ensure that the U.S. leads the world in next-generation aviation.
Broad concepts, modernizing our airspace so they can handle the increased traffic, building an all-new infrastructure like vertiports, bolstering safety, properly accounting for security concerns so our enemies can't take advantage of this technology and then use it against us, and developing a workforce of the future to support this new industry.
According to the Transportation Department, the strategy is centered around airspace infrastructure, security, community planning and engagement, workforce as well, and automation. The action plan for the strategy outlines 40 recommendations. The department said it aims to advance research, stakeholder engagement, policy development, and technical development. Russia welcomes that the U.S. is open for talks to end the Ukraine war, while hoping that European nations enter the dialogue as well. The Kremlin also says it does not want a temporary ceasefire during Christmas. NTD's international correspondent, Arian Pasdar, has the latest.
The United States continues working towards peace in Ukraine. U.S. officials have been negotiating with both Russia and Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin now saying he hopes Europe enters the talks as well.
The U.S. administration has demonstrated this willingness, and we are engaged in dialogue with them. I hope the same will happen with Europe, but it's unlikely with the current political elites.
Berlin recently hosted U.S., Ukrainian, and European officials for talks. But the German Chancellor now says diplomacy alone can't end the fighting in Ukraine.
Den sei in Erinnerung gerufen, was Präsident Putin.
Remember what President Putin said in response to my request to at least lay down arms over Christmas. Ladies and gentlemen, the response to this request could not have been more cynical and brutal.
The Chancellor made the comment on Wednesday after a spokesman for Putin commented on a possible Christmas ceasefire a day prior.
We don't want a truce that would give Ukraine a respite and prepare for the continuation of the war.
However, the spokesman says Russia does want to end the war in Ukraine, but Moscow wants to make a deal for a permanent end to the fighting, rather than a temporary ceasefire. Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
English doctors began a 5-day strike amid a rise in winter flu cases in the UK. They say they want a near 30% pay increase to make up for years of below-inflation raises. But the government says it has already increased doctors' pay to a lot and cannot afford to do so again. More on this from NTD's international correspondent, Malcolm Hudson.
What do we want? Pay restoration! How are we gonna get it?
Doctors in England began a 5-day strike on Wednesday, protesting over pay and working conditions during a surge in flu cases. The walkout is the latest in a series of strikes this year by resident or junior doctors, who make up nearly half the medical workforce and say their pay has been eroded over more than a decade.
So there are two issues. The first one is we have a jobs crisis. Doctors cannot find work and they're being turned away from jobs. And then you talk about pay. Pay is important. We must value our doctors in this country. They are seeing better offers elsewhere.
We are losing doctors abroad to better paid jobs and a better provision of health service in Australia, New Zealand and Canada year on year. And if we don't solve it, we won't have the people we've trained in this country to treat our patients. We won't have them because they'll have been poached by other health services that recognise their value.
The British Medical Association, a union which represents resident doctors, is seeking a 29% increase this year. They say it will restore pay to 2008 levels once you account for the impact of inflation. The government says it cannot afford to increase pay more than it already has. British Health Secretary Wes Streeting called the strikes irresponsible and dangerous.
We did everything we could to avert these strikes and to stop strike action from taking place. When we came into government, we recognised what resident doctors were saying about pay, and that's why they received a 28.9% pay rise from this government. And of course, we're willing to talk to them about what we do in future years.
The industrial action adds pressure to an already stretched healthcare service. National Health Service England warned last week that hospitals were facing a worst-case scenario from a surge in cases of a virulent strain of flu. They said there may be fewer doctors on duty than usual during the strikes, requiring staff to prioritise life-saving care. Patients with less urgent conditions could face longer waits. Some appointments will be rescheduled. The NHS Confederation said the impact of the strikes is expected to continue into January and beyond. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, UK.
The Chinese Communist Party continues its trend of abusing the U.S. legal systems as a part of so-called lawfare strategy to advance their interests. This time, the CCP is targeting Senator Eric Schmidt in a $50 billion lawsuit.
Yeah, we're getting it translated as we speak, but we do know it's 50 billion, and you know me as a troublemaker, but it's totally ridiculous. They're just mad that we exposed their lies and their deceit, but they unleashed COVID on the world. We sued them and we won, and so this is just sour grapes. They've sued me for 50 billion, but I won't be apologizing anytime soon, as you'd imagine.
The lawsuit was filed by authorities in Wuhan and Chinese research bodies. It accuses Schmidt and Missouri officials of damaging China's reputation through what it calls malicious litigation. Schmidt rejects the claims, calling the case baseless lawfare meant to distract from China's pandemic response. The move follows a U.S. court judgment earlier this year, awarding Missouri $24 billion in its case against China. Shenyang Performing Arts is officially launching its 2026 global tour with Europe as its first stop. We have more news after this break.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL. A one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore ShenyunCreations.com.
This is Pho-licious. Now, what is pho? It's an authentic Vietnamese noodle dish. Pho-licious chicken pho brings the comforting, aromatic flavors of Vietnam to your bowl. And Mama Thu's signature spice blend. Well, this chicken pho is as close to homemade as it gets without the wait. Some cubed chicken, a little lime, and then the magic moment. See you soon, my friends.
Pho-licious is now available at your local Walmart or walmart.com.
Shenyun Performing Arts is officially launching its 2026 global tour, with Europe as its first stop. One of the company's groups arrived in Paris, France yesterday. This year marks the 20th anniversary of Shenyun's founding, making its opening performances in France especially noteworthy. Shenyun's steadily growing popularity and consistently sold-out shows in France over the years reflect the strong appreciation European audiences have for the company. Let's take a look at this report from France.
On December 16th, artists from the Shenyun International Company arrived at Paris's Charles de Gaulle Airport, where they were warmly welcomed by fans cheering, "Welcome Shenyun." As this year marks Shenyun's 20th anniversary, the artists expressed both excitement and anticipation.
I feel very honored and very excited to be part of the first show of the 20th year. And I'm just really eager to show the audience all our hard work that we put in this year and to show what we have for this year.
Honestly, it does feel a little bit surreal because we spend half a year polishing, refining our performance, especially working with the other choreographers and the crew and the production. But as soon as that curtain opens up on the first show, it's like, wow, this is real. Like, this is the beginning of a new journey, a new 2026 Shenyun show.
Through classical Chinese dance and a unique blend of Eastern and Western music, Shenyun artists aim to share hope and traditional values with audiences worldwide.
The main message we want to show to the audience is one of hope and compassion. You know, it's like right now we're living in a very dark times. You know, a lot of hard stuff happening. But then we want to show people that there's still hope in this world, and maybe that hope is Shenyun.
Feeling that traditional values like truthfulness, compassion, tolerance, courage, dignity is still alive and relevant in the world today.
I think when you see this show, you really see that there's a lot of hope. It's very uplifting. Not only is it reviving traditional culture, but it's demonstrating that when you do, good things and follow, an upright path, there are good outcomes to come from that. So it's something very uplifting.
What we portray with Shenyun is a traditional Chinese culture, the real traditional Chinese culture, China before communism. And that is what the CCP is afraid of to have the world see, to see how wonderful and how knowledgeable and great the Chinese people were without this totalitarian government repressing them. A lot of people, I think, they really understand anything that the CCP is against is going to be good, is going to be worth watching. If they're willing to invest their time, energy, and money, this biggest government in the whole world right now, they're spending their time and effort to repress us, then that means we are definitely doing something very correct.
Over the years, Shenyun has been warmly embraced by mainstream audiences in France, with performances nearly always selling out. This year, box office results have once again reached new highs. According to the French presenter, performances in 9 cities are already completely sold out. By the end of January next year, all 99 performances across 15 French cities are expected to sell out. Due to overwhelming demand, ticket sales for Shenyun's 2027 season in 10 cities have already opened in advance. On December 18th, Shenyun's 2026 global tour will officially begin in Amityville, France, located in the heart of Europe, before traveling to 5 continents around the world.
London hotels are giving an English culinary tradition a Christmas twist this holiday season, Whether savory or sweet, local establishments are providing diners a little culinary cheer. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the menu.
The British are known for afternoon tea. At the Taj 51 in London's Buckingham Gate, the tradition is getting a festive touch. Manager Karina Luby says the five-star hotel is offering something special this Christmas season.
We have actually been using literary for our themes for afternoon tea for some time already, and this year it's the Midsummer Night's Dream. We say it's in 5 acts.
The menu includes chocolate and cherry mousse with winter berries. Dill cream cheese and smoked salmon on spinach bread provide a savory bite. But Luby says there's still a classic touch.
So people can expect a very traditional afternoon tea, to be honest with you. Of course, the scones. We're very famous for our scones here. For many years we have been doing afternoon tea. Our company is originally from India.
Down the street from the Bank of England, a restaurant called Zhang is giving afternoon tea a Christmas twist. Pastry chef Lorena Tomasi said she tried to keep the menu fun but approachable.
For example, this is raspberry and pistachio, but also if it's simple, it's very nice. Hazelnut and hibiscus. So simple flavor, but combined with something of particularity. Like for example, inside we find as well the cherry jam.
Meanwhile, in London's Mayfair neighborhood, the Chesterfield Hotel is offering a selection of sandwiches with its afternoon tea. Festive items include prawn and Mary Rose on a brioche bun, and turkey mayonnaise and cranberry on white bread. Deputy General Manager Joel Scott says the staff enjoy the Christmas touch.
We do an afternoon tea all year round, and normally it's our sweet shop afternoon tea. But from mid-November till the end of December, we run our Winter Wonderland afternoon tea. So it's a really exciting time because it gives the chefs some time to change up the menu and be creative, and the team really love it.
In addition to the Christmas theme, the Chesterfield still offers some of the staples.
We theme our traditional afternoon tea with a few classics, so we've still got the egg and cress, the scones, but we theme it with some traditional Christmas items such as the turkey sandwiches, we've got the chocolate Yule log, we've got the Ferrero Rocher macaroon, which are one of my favourites.
For locals and visitors alike, afternoon tea in London has something for everyone this holiday season. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Coming up, we're expecting an update from the law enforcement in Providence on the Brown University shooting case, so stay with us for that.
Now's the time to get your home ready for hosting with the holiday savings event at Mathis Home. They have over 100 dining sets in stock with the styles you like at incredible values. This set is a great deal. You get the contemporary trestle table and 4 comfy side chairs, all 5 pieces for just $6.99. And you don't have to wait. With fast and easy financing and free delivery, you can enjoy your new dining set tonight. Get the lowest prices of the year during the holiday savings event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gyeong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child.
This holiday season, thousands of young people are homeless. They're hungry, cold, and afraid. Covenant House is helping young people with nowhere else to turn. But the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, and your first month's gift will be matched. Your urgently needed gift provides hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love every day.
I have no words to express how Covenant House
changed my life.
Please call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the love you're showing a young person this holiday season.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Show a young person they are not alone this holiday season. Please don't wait. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org and your first month's donation will be matched.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. An update and new photos released in the Brown University shooting investigation. Police have released new images of a person who may be able to identify a person of interest as police prepares for a press conference with the latest on the case. Nick Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, makes his first court appearance in Los Angeles in connection with his parents' deaths. His arraignment has been delayed for early next year. President Trump attends the dignified transfer of 2 National Guard members killed in action. He's taken more actions since the attack. What are they? The Senate confirms Jared Isaacman as President Donald Trump's NASA administrator. The billionaire private astronaut becomes the space agency's 15th leader. Shenyun Performing Arts is officially launching its 2026 global tour with Europe as its first stop. Amazon has released the first trailer of next year's release of the documentary on First Lady Melania Trump. What we can expect from the film?
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Providence police are hoping new images can lead them to the gunman who killed 2 students at Brown University. Police are asking for the public's help in identifying this person who was in proximity to the person of interest. Earlier this week, police released security videos of the person of interest in all black with their face difficult to see. A gunman is accused of opening fire on a Brown University class over the weekend, killing 2 and injuring several others. Providence police have also announced that there will be a press conference expected to be starting soon with an update on the investigation. Nick Reiner, the son of filmmaker Rob Reiner, appeared in court today for the first time since being accused of killing his parents. NTD's LA correspondent Christina Corona brings us more from outside the courthouse.
So we're outside the Los Angeles Superior Courthouse where Nick Reiner made his first court appearance since being accused of killing his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Now, his attorney, Alan Jackson, announced that his arraignment will be pushed back to early next year, citing there are very complex and serious issues associated with his case. Let's take a look.
We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward. Not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment.
Now, this comes after his attorney announced that Nick Reiner wasn't yet medically cleared to attend court yesterday. Back to you, Don.
Also, Christina, I'm wondering if you can tell us what charges is he facing?
Yes, so yesterday, District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that former charges were filed against Nick Reiner yesterday. Let's take a look.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Now, officials say that cases involving family members are really difficult to prosecute. Let's take a look.
Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades.
Now, authorities say that Nick was living at home during the murders, but was not present when officers arrived. Back to you, Don.
Just one more thing here, and I'll let you go, Christina. Are there any new details that have come out about the events leading up to the murders?
Yes, so as we reported, the Reiners attended a holiday party on Saturday at Conan O'Brien's house, where Nick Reiner and his father, Rob Reiner, apparently got into a heated argument. Then, hours later, Nick Reiner checked into a Santa Monica hotel around 4 a.m. on Sunday. And by Sunday afternoon is when their daughter, Romy, unfortunately, she found her parents' bodies. And Nick Reiner was later arrested Sunday night near the USC area. Now, hotel staff have told investigators that in Reiner's room, they found the bathtub full of blood and blood on his mattress. Nick Reiner is currently being held at the Twin Towers jail facility in downtown Los Angeles.
Mayor Smiley is joining the press conference with the Providence Police Department and law enforcement partners to provide an update on Saturday's shooting incident. Let's take a look.
The courage and sometimes even tentative steps forward that we're taking as we start to move forward as a community. At this time, I'd like to introduce Colonel Oscar Perez, who will give an update on the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. If we can please show the photo that we released earlier today. So we have released this enhanced photo earlier today, and I want to be clear that this is a person that we would like to speak with. We truly believe, based on the video footage that we have been watching for a few days, that may have relevant information to the investigation. So we're asking the public that you can help us identify who this individual is, as well if the individual themselves sees their picture, to please contact the police department. As far as one thing that I want to mention, I want to urge you, the public, not to rely on or circulate AI-generated images that are currently being shared on social media, as they're not verified or credible. As well, the updates and information that you're getting will be provided exclusively through this department's official channels. I want to make sure that we make that happen, and please notify the public to make sure that that occurs. I would also like to clarify and show a map. Please, if you can play the map. So the map here that you see is actually a map of the area that we have been intensively walking on those streets, canvassing the area. So as you see the blue image, yesterday I mentioned that we need the public's assistance to check their camera assistance or any sort of video that you may have that could be helpful to us, that you, as you're watching it or as you're reviewing it, you feel there may be something that we can use, please notify us. And if you need any help with that, viewing those videos, please also call us. We can come over and help you. The green area, that's color, that's when we have confirmed where the subject was prior to the shooting. The red areas, we have also confirmed that that's the immediate area where he left after the shooting. And so this is the map that actually we have so far. We've walked it all. We're still actively investigating, and we're still actively having agents, Providence police officers, members of the state police. There is about 9 federal agencies that are assisting us with this investigation, adding the state police as well as the Providence police and other municipalities. Again, I would like to reiterate, if you have any tips, please call the 272-3121 or the FBI link at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. Thank you.
Attorney General Peter Nerona for an update. Okay. Thank you, General. One additional update from me, and then we'll be happy to take your questions. First, I want to just take a moment to recognize and honor the memory of Ella Cook and Muhammad Aziz Umerzakov, who are the two deceased victims from this tragedy, and update you on the status of the survivors. Yesterday, we mentioned that one individual had been discharged. I'm happy to report that another individual has been discharged today. That leaves one survivor in critical but stable condition and 5 in stable conditions. The parents that I spoke with today all reported that their kids were improving. So this is a happy announcement. But I know the entire Providence community, the entire state of Rhode Island, the governor and I were together at a memorial service last night, mourn the loss and offer our most sincere condolences to the Cook and Umerzakov families. Following up on a note that the Colonel made with respect to AI-generated images and other misinformation, we have created an online folder with all of the video and images that have been released. And we encourage both members of the press, but also members of the community. We know lots of people are sharing information, and we appreciate that. We think that will help with this investigation. But we encourage them to download and share the videos and photos from the website that has been created so that you can ensure that you're sharing an accurate and verified photo and video. That website is now live. It is providenceri.gov/tips, TIPS. providenceri.gov/tips is an online file folder that has the videos and photos that have been released to date, and it will be updated as we progress. There's been lots of conversation up here about the heroic work of the hundreds of law enforcement professionals who remain hard at work 24 hours a day and who are, in fact, making progress. I want to close with one additional thank you tonight. All of those tip line calls are coming into the city's telecommunications department, the same folks who answer the 911 calls, and they too have been working tirelessly, and I want to thank the men and women at dispatch and at telecommunications for their diligence. Everyone in the city of Providence truly has a role to play in this investigation, and we're grateful for their assistance. We'll take your questions. John.
Colonel, I have a question for Colonel Price regarding the map. As he's walking around, I want to establish actually, what's the earliest that this person of interest emerges? I believe you had said Saturday morning at 10:30, but then someone else said maybe a couple days earlier. And I recognize that it fluctuates and this is evolving. But as of right now, what's the earliest that this individual, to your knowledge, shows up on a camera?
About 10:30 a.m. on the date of this tragic incident. However, it's like anything else. I also mentioned yesterday that they do case the areas. They do a lot of prior check-in for their crime, and so we truly believe that it could be that possibly it was there prior as well. And so we want to make sure that we don't miss anything. And so that's why we're asking the public to help us to ensure within that map area that I mentioned with the borders between Wickeden, Brook, all those areas, Gano, that if you have a camera system to reach out to us.
I was in along Hyde Street, Gano today. Tremendous number of federal officials literally going door to door. Would you say this? How would you describe? I mean, it just seems that this is probably right now the most massive, intensive manhunt going on in the world.
I think I agree with you on that, John, and definitely commend the men and women, obviously, and all our federal partners. It's a lot of work, and it's intense, as you stated. It takes a lot to be able to knock on doors, see videos. There's terabytes of videos that you have to look, and I mentioned it yesterday. We're looking for a moment that takes almost less than a second, and if you miss it, you're missing something that could be critical and important for us to use. And so, yes, it's definitely an intense, and I believe that is probably the most intense investigation going on right now in this nation.
Colonel, the second person that you want to talk to Can you drill down at all on any interactions that you believe he may have had with the main person of interest? Do you believe he talked to him? How close was he to him? Any interactions? What can you tell me?
So yeah, we have video footage of that determines to us and the detectives that can tell that this person was in the vicinity where the subject of interest was that we wanted that we actually have an interest on. Close enough that we feel that we need to speak with them to find out because videos don't speak. If you think about it, I wish the video could speak, and then I'll have the answers that we need to, so that we can continue on this investigation. So we're trying to find out exactly what it is, and that's why we need to speak with them. Please.
Does this person, this new individual, have anything to do with why the person of interest was seen running in the surveillance footage?
Again, I wish the videos could speak. We're trying to get those answers.
And have you found any items of interest during your search, specifically clothing?
Nothing as we speak, no. Up front here.
Who among law enforcement or other first responders was first on the scene that day, and who came next?
So Brown University was on scene, and then immediately the Providence Police Department within minutes was there. Back there, the green jacket.
You previously released a video from 2/16 on the day of the shooting, where we see the person of interest come into contact or near another person. Is that the moment that you think this new person and the person of interest might have come close?
That's correct. It's around the area of Benevolent and Cook.
So behind the Rhode Island Historical Society, that corner of George.
Right near that area, correct.
And you had some searches going on in North Attleboro today. Is that connected at all to this case?
I can't confirm. We're all over the place. If a tip comes in and he needs us to go down to Connecticut, we're going down to Connecticut. If a tip comes in and tells us that we got to go to Boston, we're going to Boston. Right there in the middle, the green jacket. Go ahead.
Is it possible that the second person could become a person of interest?
All we know is that that person was in the vicinity of the subject that we have an interest on, and we want to speak with them. Miss
En
Greg.
español, si nos puede contar, Jesús Pérez, esta persona, una persona que busca identificar esa interacción, en qué área sucedió y qué pide de la comunidad.
Yes, so pretty much the question is just, we can explain in Spanish exactly why we're looking for this individual, or why do we want to speak with them. So, esta persona verdaderamente es alguien que nosotros tenemos un interés de hablar con ellos porque estaba en la área inmediata donde este individuo estaba. Entonces queremos saber más de por qué estaba ahí para explicar la razón y qué interacción hubo.
¿Tienen algún indicativo de que la persona que cometió el tiroteo actuó sola o actuó con alguien más?
Eso es lo que estamos investigando.
My question is, have you found any DNA evidence from the crime scene or the area that you believe might belong to the shooter?
So we have found a lot of evidence that we need to, and we use and utilize it to hopefully guide us in the right direction in order to identify the individual that we're looking for.
Any of that been DNA evidence?
This actual physical evidence, there's DNA evidence, there's a lot of evidence that we're collecting to ensure that we can find the answer. Pat.
A question for Attorney General Noronha. My understanding from your conversations over the last few days is that the Attorney General's office is taking the lead in terms of doing the investigation. My question is, what's the relationship between the Attorney General's office and the Rhode Island State Police? We haven't heard much from over the last few days in terms of who's doing what and what type of time commitment. I do have a follow-up.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we're leading it. I think that we are working closely with our law enforcement investigators. So you divide, I think you can divide, in a case like this, the people involved into two groups. So there are at least 5 prosecutors that have been here since Saturday night. I've been here for a fair chunk of it myself, particularly after hours back at the office. But what those prosecutors are doing, Pat, is asking questions, helping to narrow and inform factual inquiries. Certainly when there's a question, all right, do we have enough to get a search warrant for a house or a car or a buccal swab from a person of interest? They're informing that. So in any complex investigation, both federally and stateside, prosecutors are embedded with the investigative team, and we bring our own heads to the investigation because we have been involved in writing search warrant affidavits and arrest warrant affidavits and wiretaps for years.
And the Rhode Island State Police, what kind of role have they played in terms of investigating? And I still have a quick
Yeah, the Colonel can answer that. But before you do, Colonel, I just want to make sure that I answer it as well. one of the images that I have most keenly in my mind from a couple nights ago is a state police lieutenant or Derek Melfi talking to John Permiano of the Providence Police, talking to Colin Woods of the FBI, and identifying a certain piece of video evidence that's important to this investigation. And that's how intertwined and cohesive it is, while prosecutors look on and engage at the same time.
So I addressed this question a couple of days ago. So this is a very collaborative effort between all of law enforcement, between the Providence Police, the state police, all of our federal partners. We will continue to develop leads and follow that with the evidence that comes along with that until this perpetrator is apprehended.
Thank you. I have one quick follow-up for the gentleman from Brown University.
Yep.
Can you say for the record and with complete certainty that every bit of digital mass surveillance, whatever type of evidence was collected by the infrastructure of Brown University has been turned over to the Providence Police Department as well as the Attorney General's office? Is the Brown University withholding anything, for the record?
For the record, we are cooperating 100% with law enforcement. We are turning over everything we have to assist in this investigation.
And you have a map, and they are fully aware of whatever surveillance is being taken?
All materials are being provided to law enforcement.
Tom.
Thank you very much. Regarding the new person of interest video, who may have had contact with the primary person? Does law enforcement not have the capability to identify and find someone when you have like full face recognition without exposing them to public scrutiny? I have a follow-up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something where you have to investigate. If you don't know who that person is, it's very difficult, and especially if the image is blurred, it's very difficult to identify him. And so if we had that availability to be able to identify him without the assistance of the public, we would. So at this point, we do not, and that's why we're putting it out to the public to assist us in identifying who this person is.
And then with this person of interest that you're looking at today, or this subject that you released today, are we sure it's a man? I know it was brought up in the question before, it could be a man, but are we 100% sure it's a man, or could it be a woman as well?
It's a person that we would like to at least speak with.
But, you know, there's no giving a gender at this time?
No, there isn't.
Colonel, there's a black satchel that the main person of interest was carrying. In some images, he is seen with it. Some images he is seen without
Sorry,
it.
man.
Have you recovered that black satchel? Do you know if can you tell us whether he was wearing that strapped over his shoulder?
Yes.
Was he wearing it before the shooting, after the shooting?
He's wearing it at times, definitely on and off, and I think I addressed that yesterday. Obviously, that we see him in the video with it, and then at times we don't see him, just like you stated. So we're assuming that he actually hid it under the coat that he was wearing, but we don't have it, no.
Patrick.
For Colonel Perez,
Yes.
The map that you showed, it looks like the perimeter has moved south into the Fox Point area from the immediate places where we've seen video footage. Can you tell me why the level of interest has moved south of the shooting site and into the Fox Point area? Is there new video footage? Is there additional evidence that points towards that area?
I mean, the investigation is intensive, so we're following his path. And he's getting us, the last place we saw him was right at Ives near Pittman. And so that's sort of south, and we're going to continue to check, but that's the last place that we saw him. That's why we moved south, and we may continue to move. It all depends. We want to see as far as we can, how far we can go to identify him.
Are there any other sightings or anything else down by, I mean, that you've extended all the way to like Wickeden, where we don't have any...
Correct. We're at Ives in Pittman right now, but potentially could lead us further down to Butler. It could lead us further down south. So we just want to make sure we cover enough.
Steve.
Colonel, can you now explain to us 5 days later how many students were in that classroom? Sadly, 2 lost their lives, 9 others injured. We're encouraged about the update today. But can you now say how many kids were in that classroom? And did the gunman come in from the back so these people never knew it was coming? Or did he come in front with full view of everybody?
And that's all part of the interviews, and actually we're cooperating with Brown to get the roster. That was a study hall, so we don't have the number. We're still getting information as far as who was there. I know Brown sent out an email to the students to notify us if they were present, and we're still getting that, so I can't give you an exact account now.
Okay, and then just a follow-up, you did say that you lost sight of the gunman at some specific road
Correct.
outside of your perimeter. What
No,
happened?
it's within the perimeter, Steve, yeah.
Right, and then what happened with him after that? There's no, you have no video of where he could have gone from
We're,
there?
we're still out there as we speak. There's people out, there's detectives out there, there's task force officers. We're trying to figure out what other locations we can find, but we haven't found anything else. So but we're knocking on doors and making sure, and that's why I'm putting out the call to the public to assist us. If you happen to be within that box, that borders exactly where we want you to look, then that's exactly why we're here.
Second round.
Yeah. Inside the classroom, you've done your interviews, you continue to do your interviews. The description that eyewitnesses are giving, does it match the primary person of interest? And what can you say more about the weapon? We know that the TA said that he saw a gun that was so big and so long. Is it possible at this point that the gunman had multiple weapons? Can you square that for us?
Yeah, there's definitely, the interviews are definitely telling us that that's the description that we have. And yes, they're describing the weapon. Some people obviously can think it was chaos. And so well, we're definitely getting some info as far as what the weapon looked like and exactly what was going on in that room. So
We don't think there's multiple weapons?
no, just that individual.
I just want to jump in here too, because you know, you mentioned a long gun. We are not in a position to say, unless the chief, you want to square it, whether this was a long gun or not. I think that there's been an account from the TA. There are multiple accounts about multiple things, including how this gunman approached the victims. Those are not details that advance the investigation. Why not? They don't advance the investigation because as we interview witnesses, we don't want them to learn facts from these press conferences. We want them to relay the facts that they have in their heads, including a person of interest. So we don't want a person of interest to shape what they're telling us based on what we know as expressed to you about those kinds of details, sir, that you asked. So we're being careful about the facts that we're sharing for that reason, so that when we talk to witnesses, what we're getting is their factual recitation. And as you might imagine, in a situation where there is chaos, and look, people are ducking for cover as well they should have, you are going to get different accounts, and part of what's going on now is reconciling those accounts. And I don't know, Chief, if you want to weigh in more about the weapon, but I don't want anyone to leave this room thinking that this weapon was a long gun, because that would be a misperception from what I know.
Alex.
In the video released yesterday, it appears that the person of interest is going by a police cruiser that has its lights on. Does that mean that the dash cam in that cruiser was on and activated, and have police been able to recover anything useful from that video?
So that was a brown police cruiser, and I'm not sure if they have body cameras in their cruisers. I don't think they do.
Dash cam, no.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to
and
answer
then my
the
next
chief.
follow-up question would be, are you working with flock camera experts to try and recover anything from those cameras?
So as you know, we work with Flock, we have LPRs in the city, and we're utilizing every resource we can. Yes, Alex.
Brian.
Colonel, you mentioned there is other evidence, but at this point, how much of this investigation turns on the public identifying who's in those images? And are you discouraged or surprised that after a couple days of it being out there, you haven't gotten anything more concrete?
No, I think this is, like I said earlier, it's a very intense investigation, and I think it's going to take public assistance. It's actually going to take, obviously, 21st century policing involving technology, but it's also going to take good old-fashioned police work, which is knocking on doors, retrieving evidence, going through yards, talking to witnesses. It's going to take all that and more, Brian.
And no one's discouraged. I mean, I've been in that command post. No one's discouraged. I mean, leads are coming in, they're being run to ground, and no one's discourred. Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the command post, as the colonel has, and no one's discouraged. I mean, I get when I'm not there, I get hourly reports from my own team, and there's an enormous amount of energy for people who have been working as hard as they have been. I'm really quite impressed by that, frankly, and there's no discouragement among people who understand that not every case is a case that can be solved quickly. In my view, they get solved. It's just a matter of time. In this case, we'll get solved too.
Would you just to follow up, would you have a message or an appeal to the shooter or anybody who may think they know who they are, who may be on the fence?
Well, look, certainly it would behoove everyone, including the shooter, to provide information to law enforcement.
and to the shooter to turn himself in. He will be caught, and it's just a matter of time before we catch him. And I believe that based on my experience, but also from watching the people in that command post and getting reports from where they're coming back out in the field. They know what they're doing, they're experienced, they're working hard. There's no lack of resources. Everyone's working really well together. And we're going to crack this case. And when we crack it, it's going to come open really quickly.
Straight back, the best.
Thank you. For you, Mayor, have you spoken with local business owners about how much this is impacting their bottom line, especially during the holiday season, and any concerns that they might have about the situation?
Yeah, I have. It's hard work being a small business owner, and this time of year is critical to them. There's a commercial district just off campus called Thayer Street. Those businesses are particularly struggling as both students went home early and some people are avoiding the area. Similarly, there's a couple other commercial districts nearby the area, which is Wickenden Street, as has been discussed here tonight, and Wayland Square. The city's Department of Economic Development, in partnership with the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, is reaching out to those business owners to look at assistance programs or otherwise try to support them to ensure that their businesses can stay healthy and vibrant through this.
Do you know when those might take effect?
Those conversations started yesterday, and so we're working with the various merchants associations to try to determine what sort of assistance might be most helpful, and when it's ready to announce, we will. Thanks. Please.
My question is for the Colonel. So looking at this new map, there's more video so far of him before than there is after the shooting. Do you think that the person of interest got into the vehicle somewhere within this area, and are you going to go through license plate readers?
Absolutely, yeah, we're looking for that evidence, if there was any vehicles involved. And yes, you're right, he was there earlier, and so that's why we're looking at that as well. And definitely, we're using, I mentioned that earlier, the LPRs, the flock, any cameras. That's why we're making a call out to the public to assist us with that. It's all part of those resources that we're going to need, as the general stated, to make that apprehension.
Dan.
I have a question and a follow-up. First for the Attorney General. Attorney General Dan Janik, NBC 10.
Hi, Dan.
You had said the other day that you released the person of interest because the DNA didn't match, which would assume that there was DNA of the person of interest in that room. Can you tell us what it was? And if he hasn't committed a crime before, how it makes it a little bit more difficult to
Yeah, so DNA, when it's entered into a nationwide system, can confirm the identity of a suspect or subject. And certainly the advantage here is that when we find a person of interest, and we can get a search warrant for what we call a buccal swab, we can compare that to a known quantum of evidence. That can rule people in and obviously can rule people out. That's a powerful piece of evidence, but it's not the only evidence. And relatedly to the question about, do we need only the public? The public is going to really help us here by identifying this person. But at the same time, there are other leads coming in through other forms of electronic and other evidence that are taking multiple teams out in different directions. And we're able, through a variety of means, not just DNA evidence, to rule people in or rule people out. And it's a combination of really impressive work by, vector experts in various forms of modern law enforcement techniques.
Okay, I have a second question. Brown. So I asked this question out of deep respect, but I asked it for a lot of parents who are frustrated who've reached out to me, so please keep that in mind. And they want to know how a school with a $9 billion endowment does not have cameras on one of the older buildings at the edge of the campus where this happened. Not even in the front door, who's coming and going. Now they asked this question knowing that the shooter may have done whatever he wanted, but the cameras, A, would have deterred, or B, captured a better look at them, and we wouldn't be here today 5 days out. I want you to explain that, because there's a lot of parents who are wondering, where are you investing your money?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and I want to reiterate, as our president did, that supporting our students and communicating to the parents, to our community about our support is of utmost importance. We have 1,200 cameras located throughout the campus. We don't publish the locations of the cameras. That would give a map to somebody to evade detection on the cameras. So that would be counterproductive to do that. There are cameras in this building, and as I answered the previous question, we have turned over all evidence that we are holding at Brown to law enforcement and are cooperating fully with them.
So you're saying that there's a camera, you're saying there's cameras in the building. I was told yesterday there wasn't cameras in the building. The Attorney General said, old building, no cameras, attached to a new building with cameras.
I believe he said that there were two different phases of the building that might have two different levels of technology. Again, all video imagery has been turned over to law enforcement.
That doesn't make sense for a lot of people. Just want to say that.
Okay, I have a question for the chief and a question for the FBI. Hey, Chief.
Chief, how you doing, Amanda?
So, looking at this person of interest and from his witness descriptions, it appears that this person had a genuine familiarity with Brown, possibly with that building as well. Have you, in questioning people, have you questioned and eliminated any Brown employees, current, former, disgruntled, facing discipline, any type of complaints?
Yeah, at this point, it's unknown to us. I think that the investigation is on, but it's unknown to us where this person works. It's unknown to us if he was an affiliate of Brown. That's all unknown to us. All we have is the image that we've been releasing and informed you all about it. And so we're hoping to get those answers eventually, who that person is or what their background is.
Okay, and a question follow-up for the FBI, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I understand that the FBI has doing tower dumps of cell phone data, and I'm not sure if this is also happening, but if you're also checking the MAC addresses of any phones related to any of the Wi-Fi at residences or at Brown University as well. If so, how long does it take to get that information? Have you even received any preliminary information that is helping you narrow down any potential persons of interest?
I will say that I don't want to get into the specifics of the techniques that we use investigatively, but I will say that we are using every resource that we have to find this subject and bring him to justice.
But when it comes to cell phone data, how long does it take to get that information? Would we be getting weeks, months?
I will say that it varies as it relates to getting that type of data. I will say that everything that we're doing is getting expedited based on the gravity of what has happened here at Brown University.
Right next to it.
Have you recovered any physical evidence during these recent searches, and possibly including a gun magazine?
So we have done extensive searches both inside the location as well as outside. Yes, we have seized and found physical evidence.
And does that include a gun magazine?
We have found physical evidence.
Can you say where?
I'm not going to confirm. I'm sorry? Yeah. Please.
Colonel, for the past couple of days, we have zeroed in on this particular person of interest. Can you kind of help remind us about why you believe this is someone who possibly could be either the shooter or a suspect? You've been very careful not to say a suspect. You've said a person of interest, but this is the only videos. Can you help remind us about why you believe this is the person, not looking for others?
Yeah, we have enough evidence, I think, that's taken us to that level to identify this individual as someone who was there immediately after, before, case in the area. There's enough for us to believe that's definitely a subject of interest based on descriptions, based on statements, and so that's the reason we're calling him a subject of interest, just to ensure that we have enough, and once we identify him, to be able to take the next step.
A quick follow. You were very clear not to use gender with the person in proximity to the person of interest, but you have been using male pronouns, describing this person as a man. For this particular person of interest, we can say for sure you believe that we are looking for a man for the person of interest?
Correct. In the back there.
At this point, and this is for the FBI, at this point, this person could be anywhere, right? I-95 runs right through the state. So how are you coordinating with other states to determine whether this person of interest could be elsewhere?
No, that's a great question. Through all of our field offices, we have 56 field offices throughout the United States, as well as legats abroad. And so the information that we have, once it goes into our data systems, we are sharing that information real time with all of our FBI field offices and the partners as well. And so that is a way in which we're making sure that whether that subject has left the state or even left the country, that we are using that full reach of the federal arm to track that individual down.
And a follow-up real quick for one of you. I understand that Brown has 1,200 cameras. Why, and that those images have been handed over to the investigation. Why have we not seen any of this footage? Wouldn't it help if the media or if the general public saw people walking through campus and just to get angles?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to that is footage of students running from the scene doesn't help advance identifying this person or this investigation.
Him walking into the building?
No, not him. I'm talking about video footage of students that were not harmed, other students hearing shots, running through a different part of the building. We have video footage of that. That doesn't help us identify this individual.
With respect, Attorney General, I think we could all agree that maybe, within the 24 hours ahead of that time, there is a lot of footage that could be gone through all those 1,200 cameras that you say there are in the school. Why hasn't that just been released to the public?
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Would you like all of it?
Why not?
Well, because here's why. Because it doesn't tell us anything about who committed this crime yet. If we get a better image of who committed this crime, you'll have it. There is no effort to preclude the public, online investigators in the press, from getting to the result faster than we can. If you can identify this person faster than we can, have at it. But we are giving you the best evidence we can to identify this person. The FBI, with respect, cannot find a person we have not identified yet. The way we identify him is to focus on this person, exhaust our investigative resources to pull videotape so that we can get an image out there that the public may be able to identify. At the same time, exploiting other evidence to try to track this person in different ways, which has been going on for the last 72 hours. So, well, what does that look like? What that looks like is information comes in. It could come in from the tip line. The team runs it to ground. They rely on other evidence, the flock cameras that the colonel referenced, other electronic data that Amanda's referring to, and you can rule that person in or out. When that person's is ruled out, you move on to the next one. The way the public helps us now is to help us identify this person, okay? But that's not the exclusive way we're going at it. But it does not advance our investigation to have reams of data out there that don't help identify the shooter. And we're confident of that.
My follow-up question just to that was as well is, we speak a lot about the public helping as well, and we know that, the FBI is involved. But 5 days, a person can get very far in 5 days. What other state police departments are helping you with this? And do you have any indication how far this person may have gotten in this time?
Well, go ahead,
Yeah, no, I got it. So pretty much it's a great point, and that's something that we're considering. Obviously, he could be anywhere. You're right. And I think the fact that we're all here in this room and we're providing the info and it's being spread out through this nation, I would hope, I'm speaking to different chiefs. I've had the privilege to know a lot of them. We're exchanging info as we speak. We don't know. But we still don't know what the person is or who he is, right? And so we're going to continue to view, review, and then send out. And I just want to touch on that question because you do make a good point. If there's 1,200 cameras, right, how come we're not seeing it at all? But at the end of the day, we're looking at key evidence, key video evidence to send out. It makes no sense to re-victimize students who went through that. That's not my job, and my responsibility is to ensure that people are safe. It's no different than I'm asking the public to provide me with video footage for weeks. I don't want to know what's going on in their homes for weeks. I want to know if they can see a piece of evidence that is going to be helpful for us to progress in this investigation.
What do we know about the level of public access to Darris and Holly? Is this a door that somebody from the public, the shooter, would have been able to walk in? Or is this a place where you would have needed swipe access to get in?
Certainly. Thanks for that question. Brown is no different than most colleges and universities that during daytime hours, there's open access to academic spaces. So that was the case on the day of the event.
Phil?
Question for Brown. There are some buildings on campus that have what may be private or non-police security guards posted at the front entrance. Was there a security guard ever posted at the engineering building entrance? If so, were they there that day, and what did they do? And if not, why not?
So maybe I'll ask our chief of police to speak to that.
On that day, we did not have and do not have a security asset posted inside the building.
Is that atypical of a Saturday or in that particular building? How do you determine where security is posted, and is that under the purview of Brown Police?
That is, and that is typical for that academic space.
That there would not be a security personnel?
Correct.
Brian, there you go.
One for the Colonel, one for you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
As far as the investigation goes, any updates on a possible motive here? And for the mayor, while I have you, we're getting towards Christmas time. Obviously, the suspect can get lots of different places, not just on campus there. What is your message to people coming into this area, seeing family who are concerned that this guy is still out?
Yeah, so the motive is unknown at this time.
As we're, what are we, a week away from Christmas now? This only emphasizes the question that I think everyone's been asking, which is, are we safe in Providence right now? Which honestly is the hardest question that I keep getting asked. And whether it's the holidays or not, but with the holidays, we expect even more people to want to come home and celebrate with family and share the traditions that, you know, are seared in all of our brains of holidays with our parents and loved ones. We can't lock down the city indefinitely. We can't. And I know this city. I know that they are tough. I know that they are resilient. I know that they have faced scary times before. And so we are doing everything possible to provide extra law enforcement, extra visibility, things to reassure confidence at a scary time. And it is a scary time here in the city. That's true at Christmas time. That was true when this started on Sunday morning, the first morning after. And so we are doing everything possible, but obviously families are going to have a conversation about what's right and what's best. But they should know that their city government is doing everything they know how. And thanks to the help of our friends, the governor and the Rhode Island State Police, our neighboring communities here in Rhode Island. For those of you who aren't from Rhode Island, this is a tight-knit place. And we have police officers from every corner of Rhode Island helping out in Providence right now. And so we are doing everything we can to reassure folks, to provide comfort, particularly as we expect will be even busier a week from now. And that is the best honest answer that I can give to that very difficult question. Please.
This question is for the Colonel.
And you were just watching a press conference involving lawmakers and law enforcement, as well as the mayor of Providence, Smiley, giving an update on the situation of the shooting at Brown University, releasing a new image of a person that the police would like to speak to, and asking the public to give more information and the person in the image as well to come forth to talk to the police. Now, a new report reveals how more than $6 billion in U.S. taxpayers' money has gone toward helping the Chinese regime build its military and defense capabilities. More news when we come back.
Don't miss our special coverage of Turning Point's biggest event of the year, America Fest 2025.
This is the greatest nation on earth.
Thousands of students expected to attend the 4-day event, joined by some of the most influential voices in the conservative movement, all to honor Charlie Kirk and the principles he stood for. Watch our special coverage of the convention and our on-the-ground editions of NTD Evening News with Tiffany Meyer at 6 p.m. Eastern and Capitol Report with Steve Lance at 7. Turning Point USA, America Fest 2025, this Thursday through Sunday on NTD.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
this land, our America, built on hard work, determination, and grit. Sometimes the days run long, but hope, it never runs out, even when the food does, for America's veterans, working parents, even kids. Because in every corner of every town, even yours, millions of hard-working neighbors are facing a hunger crisis, many for the very first time. In this land of plenty, affording food shouldn't require second jobs and third shifts or choosing between your groceries and bills. Today, you can help change that. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, less than 63 cents a day, to help every neighbor get the food they urgently need. Because taking care of each other is what makes America strong. We're Feeding America, not just a name, but an action. Working with over 200 local food banks like the ones in your community, and demand is soaring.
You go to the grocery store, you spend $100, and $100 is a new $20 bill.
Even with 2 full-time jobs, it's hard to make ends meet.
These are tough times, but when we stand together, we become the very best of a strong America. Please call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org. Just $19 a month can feed a family today. And your first gift can double an impact. Plus, we'll send you this free canvas bag as a reminder of the hope you're delivering.
When it comes down to it, it's about taking care of your family first and the loved ones that you need to provide for.
Because you're not just giving food, you're fueling resilience for people across the nation. You're feeding America. Call or go online today to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double an impact.
The Select Committee on China released an investigative report revealing how the Chinese Communist Party exploited the U.S. Department of Energy for research on defense technologies. Over 4,000 research papers involved Chinese researchers. More than 2,200 papers were tied to China's defense research and industrial base, and more than $6 billion in U.S. taxpayer funding has been implicated in helping China. Committee Chairman John Muhlenar called it a deeply alarming problem. He said the Department of Energy failed to ensure the security of its research, and it put American taxpayers on the hook for funding the military rise of our nation's foremost adversary. The Senate has confirmed Jared Isaacman as President Donald Trump's NASA administrator. The billionaire private astronaut is now the space agency's 15th leader. The Senate pushed his confirmation through after a 67-30 vote. Isaacman will replace Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who had been serving as an acting NASA administrator. Isaacman is the founder of the payment processing company Shift4. The 42-year-old performed the world's first private spacewalk in September 2024. The Department of Homeland Security says 2 recent detainer requests for illegal immigrant truck drivers have been ignored by Washington state. According to the department, both suspects were involved in significant crashes, one of which was deadly. This while an uptick in immigration enforcement is seen again in Chicago. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
While the Trump administration has been making it a priority to crack down on commercial driver's licenses for illegal immigrants, the Department of Homeland Security reports that Washington state released 2 illegal immigrant truck drivers involved in crashes despite detainer requests from ICE. One being Kamalpreet Singh, a truck driver who was involved in a deadly collision on December 11th. The DHS says that Singh entered the U.S. illegally in 2023 in Arizona and was released into the country. Also stating, quote, according to local reports, on December 11th, Singh failed to decelerate on a freeway in Washington state, striking the rear of another vehicle, pushing it into a third vehicle. The vehicle Singh directly hit caught on fire, and the 29-year-old driver, Robert Pearson, died on the scene. The second illegal immigrant is Juan Hernandez Santos, who is accused of crashing an 18-wheeler into a car, causing a 6-vehicle pileup involving a school bus. On multiple occasions, ICE has said that when detainers aren't honored, federal officers have to pursue the illegal immigrants in the local community, saying, quote, These at-large arrests are more dangerous for the public, aliens, and officers. Overdrive reports that Tara Tsilana, a spokesperson for the Thurston County Prosecuting Attorney's Office in Washington, says under Washington law, local law enforcement agencies are prohibited from assisting with federal immigration enforcement. She added many jurisdictions from Washington have determined that ICE detainers which are not reviewed or authorized by a judge do not carry the same legal authority as a judicial arrest warrant. Washington's Keep Washington Working Act, passed in 2019, limits how much law enforcement can cooperate with ICE and the DHS. In August, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson defended the state's policies after receiving a notice from the Department of Justice stating Washington could be out of compliance with federal law.
Washington State is proud to be a welcoming community that values immigrants and refugees' contributions to our economy and our cultural fabric. We do so while accounting for and complying with applicable federal law.
And in Chicago, footage from Tuesday shows immigration enforcement officers are still active in the area. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bavino is reportedly back in the area after a month away. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker stated on Tuesday that he was not made aware that Chief Bavino and additional agents were coming back to Chicago, and he doesn't know how long they'll be staying. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin told AP, as we said a month ago, we aren't leaving Chicago and operations are ongoing. Jason Blair, NTD News.
And thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. We'll be taking a quick break, but we'll be back with more news. And stay with us for NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.